Hey guys, and good morning. Welcome to another Cloud Nexus Live. As usual, I am joined by the marvelous Martin Kennedy. Good morning, Martin.
Good morning.
And I'm also joined by the spectacular, the marvelous, the ingenious, I've run out of superlatives, brilliant. You look behind you because it's you, Ben Wildman.
Hello.
Good morning, Ben. How's it going?
About yourselves?
I want to say that you look a little bit like death today. Has COVID come to the Wildman household?
It certainly hasn't. Just a cold.
Just a cold. Good stuff, man. All right. Well, thanks to everyone that's joining us online. Do feel free to jump in with your questions and comments on LinkedIn. We will see them and hopefully we'll be able to respond to those as we go. But we've got some great stuff to talk about today, starting with a really interesting news article, Ben, that you picked up that I am going to flash up on the screen any second now. Look, he's vamping and stalling for time. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the Facebook and Apple ad tracking row. So Ben, can you just tell us quickly what have you seen? What's happening?
Yeah, so basically in the latest iOS version, there's an update that basically forces apps to request the ability to track you through other apps, basically on the phone. And basically, Facebook are a bit upset because that's how they make all the money. So yeah, the idea is they can no longer, because the majority, based on some research, the majority of people are going to basically say, no, we're not going to let you see my other app's data type thing, or allow you to track. Majority of people are going to accept that. So basically, Facebook are like, well, we're losing our revenue model for the selling of the marketing. So
yeah, I think in this article on the BBC that Facebook believe up to 80% of people, if asked, would refuse to share their data when it comes to ad tracking. So I can see
yes,
that's going to have a massive dent in their advertising capability. And this is them tracking you, not because let's be clear, they're already tracking you in web cookies and all that other kind of good stuff when you use your desktop devices and laptop devices. But this is on mobile. Your mobiles have a essentially like an ad tracking identifier. It specifically has a feature that is an ad tracking identifier, and it's that now every single app that you open that wants to get access to that ad tracking identifier has to ask your permission, isn't it?
yeah, pretty much.
It was 14.5, which I think was just out in the last.
Yeah, so it's on by default, but the apps aren't necessarily asking by default, because I think that's a change of terms in the App Store they have to update to at some point, from my understanding. So
Yeah.
you won't necessarily get the requests immediately, but you can see the options within your settings on your phone.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
So
had,
if you've got an older version of an app, I was going to say it has to update to the new version of that app probably
Yeah.
before it's then going to, ask you for that consent.
yeah, it looks like it is on by default. I had toggled it on and off to see if it would prompt me, and then I removed an app to see if it would then prompt when I reinstalled it, but it didn't, and they weren't listed either. But by default, it will go to not allow tracking. So when somebody's installing an app, it won't prompt you and ask you, because the default is, do not track. If you've got it toggled on, you'll then get a prompt asking you if you want it to be tracked or not, and then you can turn them off individually.
Yeah. Okay. And massive poll here of the entire UK population. But if you were asked, Ben, Martin, would you choose to be tracked or not tracked?
No, I would be not tracked.
Yeah. It just seems like a default. If you're going to be asked if you want to be tracked, it's like a default human response, I think, of saying no. It's just, who's going to agree to that?
Well, clearly, it's going to end up being more subscription-based apps, or paid apps, etc., that will end up coming out of this, because many developers are going to lose their revenue, potentially, I'd imagine.
Well, I think it's a fair point, isn't it? Because there's a lot of free content inside the App Store that is propped up by ads. So you play the free games or you use the free apps or whatever it is, and then every 5 uses or whatever, you have to watch a 30-second advert, which we're kind of used to with like YouTube and stuff like that by now. But this feels a bit different, and I think you're quite right. If someone pops up in the background, just goes, "Hi, Martin, can I spy on you and what you're doing on your phone?" You're just gonna go, no, thanks.
I guess you will still get adverts. It just won't be targeted at you and your other requirements, and also what happens out with that app, where it's picking up data that you're doing on your browser or elsewhere, and then selling you something very specific in an ad.
Yeah, and I suppose we should still bear in mind this isn't everything. There's still device fingerprinting that they can do to identify most likely you and your location and that device that you're on. So even for a period of time when you opt out of these things, the advertisers have got a huge gamut of information that says, this user, this device, these cookies. Okay, this is the ad tracking ID. Whoops, we've lost the ad tracking ID now. Okay, well, we still have all this other data that we can use, and we still know it's you on that device until you change device, presumably.
That's true. Yeah.
And pretty much Facebook know everything about you anyway. When you sign up, your address, your date of birth, all your pictures you tagged in.
I think you're right.
They can see the cars you drive, everything, your kids.
If you're on Facebook, privacy's dead anyway. Move on. Just don't worry about tracking links. Now, but I do have to call out, though, that Facebook are only looking after the small guys here by arguing with Apple, right?
Oh, yes.
Because they are concerned that it could cut the money earned through its ad network by half, hitting small businesses the hardest. Not Facebook.
Facebook.
They're not worried about their ad revenue being cut in half by 50%. It's the small guys. That's who they're looking out for.
Yep, indeed.
Well, so I like this. I think it's a good thing. I think Apple are doing a good job. And again, they don't particularly care about ad revenue that way. That's not how they make money. That's not how they're incentivized to make their devices and invest in things. That's an easy decision for them to make.
Yeah, this is something Apple's doing. The advertising industry will change anyway. It's got to, because of the way people feel about privacy, etc. So it will change, and this is just a first step from one organisation, I guess, isn't it?
That's interesting. So is it privacy or privacy? Just throw that out there.
Privacy?
It's privacy, right?
Don't know. Is that Scotland?
No.
That's a good thing. Maybe someone can comment.
No, it's privacy. No, it's
privacy. No, privacy or privacy. Pop that in the chat.
Privacy.
You're going to have to spell it phonetically, though.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So this week...
Before we do move on, a cool feature, if anyone's tested, or let us know if you have or not, is the ability to unlock your phone with an iWatch if you're wearing a mask. Obviously, it only applies to iPhones, but yeah, I've tried it. It's not working. Well, depends on the mask you've got. It might not necessarily work, but give it a go and let us know, because I'm not getting it to work yet.
Oh, yeah. So this is like using Face ID, but you can use Face ID with a face mask as long as you've got your iWatch on.
Yeah, and your iWatch is unlocked, yeah. So the idea is it's supposed to effectively grant you access to your phone.
Okay,
or you
all right,
just use a pen.
Exactly. Might be easier. you like this to hitting you up.
I'm so used to now just doing it as soon as I pick up the phone now. But yeah, it would be nice, because things that the convenience of Apple Pay and stuff like that's kind of been taken away a little bit with the masks. So I'll find myself getting to the end of the queue in the supermarket and I'm like, or I just want to look up the shopping list whilst I'm going around, such high flying places like Aldi on a Saturday morning. All right, cool. Let's move on. So the next thing that I saw this week was the Apple Spring event. I'm sure everyone's been having a look at that. Did you see anything that you guys liked? I saw the new iPhone 12s are coming out in a variety of colors, including purple.
Nice.
No, I didn't like that.
You didn't like
that? No, it wasn't that long ago that I got the iPhone 11.
So they're bringing out the new iPhone 12.
Yeah, too soon.
11.
Okay. I didn't take too much notice of the new iPhone 12s, to be honest. What did catch my eye, though, was the new iPads.
The iPad caught my eye.
Oh, these are amazing. So these are the new M1-powered iPads as well. And then with that liquid crystal Retina display, look at it. Oh,
it would look good on that.
It looks really nice. I was very impressed. And I am tempted. Very tempted.
They are really nice devices. I think what's getting me about these, though, and this is a thing that I've had kind of in my mind for a little while. So the M1 powered stuff is just amazing. It's blowing stuff out of the water, especially if you take like the new M1 powered, or the little Mac Minis. Those are amazing. Oh, yeah, they're so powerful. And if you stack it up to the previous generation's Intels, it's just like it's night and day. It's absolute night and day, the performance that you're getting out of them. And to see that chipset now come to the iPads as well, it's just fantastic. But what I was looking at was when you get to the iPad Pro with the nice little iPad Pro keyboard case, that nice little steel case that they've got that comes together, now getting on for like $2,000.
Yeah, it's like $300 for the keyboard.
Yeah, you could go and get a MacBook Air. You could genuinely go and get a MacBook Air. Now I know it's a totally different experience.
Buy a car.
All right, £2,000. What car are you buying?
Another Mini.
Another Mini. Yeah. probably not enough actually now. Yeah, it'd have to be something a bit more 90s or 2000s.
It's all right for you because you've got the man skills and the workshop, and like you can weld and fix and all that kind of stuff. I buy a car for £2,000. I'll be phoning the AA every 2 seconds. Hello. Yeah, you've run out of petrol, mate. Oh.
There's a hole at the bottom.
But yeah, no, I was looking at these iPad Pros with the beautiful keyboard case. I haven't got a picture of them, but these things are getting on for like $2,000. And I was looking at that going, you could buy a MacBook Air, like an M1 powered MacBook Air, which would be really, really beautiful, super powerful, and it'd be a great experience. Now, I think I'm always back to, why don't they put touchscreens in any of the MacBook ranges? It seems like you've got this amazing touchscreen experience with iPads, but it never seems to come to the laptop versions.
It's because Mac OS is built in the 80s, that's why. Or it reminds me of something built in the 80s.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. So it's the operating system. I wouldn't get the MacBook. I've got one, don't really like it. But the iPad Pro, which I have, absolutely love. This iPad, the 12.9 screen looks amazing. And it's, have you seen the front camera on it as well, which is like this extra wide, and it does tracking as well.
Okay.
So it keeps you center stage. So if you had it widescreen and somebody else comes into the picture, it gets you both in. If you wander off, it actually tracks around and keeps you center.
Oh, nice.
Which is nice. Which looks really good. I was having a look and maybe taking advantage of the student discounts as well, which knocks about £100 off it.
Okay, yeah.
Which is nice. You just need to know a student. Which I'm sure we can always find a student somewhere to buy it for us.
Well, I did every time we talk to you, Martin, we've found another child that you had that we didn't know about.
Yeah, there's loads of them. Yeah. But also, I looked at the trade-in, and for my 11-inch, whatever it is, iPad Pro, you're only getting about 100 and 150 quid for it on trade-in, so not really worth it, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
and I think you can often get a bit of buyer's remorse, because you're already running the latest software. You buy the latest brand new iPad,
and you have the same thing.
It's almost an exact experience. Yes, you've got the refinements of it's faster and better cameras and things like that, but that very quickly wears off, and I'm like, I just spent £1,000, and I'm running the same apps and having the same experience as the last one. I get that sometimes, which is why I tend to skip a couple of generations.
Yeah.
When I go from either an iPhone or an iPad, up to the next one, I'll tend to just wait. I think I went from an iPhone 7 to an 11.
I think that's why if I was doing it, I would definitely go right up to the 12.9, and then in a year's time realise it's too big, and then get the smaller one.
But you'll get a good trade-in price then. What did you guys make of the new iMacs? Did you see those?
No, I've not looked at those. Colours look good.
That's back to the colours that they used to do with the kind of early.
It was with the big
massive monitors.
Yeah. All I can think of is Zoolander now, where he's going, the files are in the computer. He's like trying to smash one of those big colourful iMacs to get the files out. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought these kind of looked a little bit Surface Studio as well. The Microsoft Surface Studios. They've kind of gone back to this real thicker, square design rather than they had the real thin, razor thin edges on the last one.
I do prefer that design. The same with the phone.
This one here.
The kind of flat edges. I think it's more.
Which colour would you go for? Well, Martin can't see.
Right,
the first
fully in the workplace.
I was going to say numbers 2, 3, and 4 look the same to him.
Yeah, I'd go with grey.
I'd go for grey, or maybe the dark blue. I like the blue.
Me too. And Martin, which one was grey? Move again.
All of them.
All of them.
Not all of them.
No, that's got again. These are the M1 powered iMacs as well. They're absolutely fantastic. Again, these are amazing devices. You always see these in the graphic artist studios as well. I am just wondering, and I didn't get a chance to look. Is that a headphone socket on the left hand side? because they seem to keep disappearing off devices. But
Observation.
anything that's M1 powered at the moment is really, really kicking it. It's absolutely fantastic. And the price doesn't seem to have changed that much either. iMacs and MacBooks have always been at this premium price point, but it's not like they've come out and gone, right, we now have our own silicon, and so therefore there's this, additional payment that you're going to make for that. It's really, really good. The thing that caught my eye after that was, of course, these.
Yeah.
Did you spot these?
The tags.
AirTags.
Yeah, I've not done a bit. I've not researched that much into them, but I read some people attach them to the kids and things. I'm thinking,
that's
really?
exactly what I'm thinking, right?
Right. How do they work?
Well, so funnily enough, I actually have a pickup time at the Apple Store today, but I couldn't, before we were doing this live, I just couldn't get there. Because I had to get into town and grab them and whatever. I couldn't make it, but I ordered a pack of 4. So these things are coming in at basically $30 for one, or $99 for a pack of 4. And you know how it is with dollars to pounds. That's basically the same thing on the Apple Store here. So it's £99 for a pack of 4. But yeah, I wanted to grab hold of some so that we can see what these look like. And they're Bluetooth low energy, you can see there. But you're going to be able to use it with Find My app on the phone. And I can see it's going to work in the same way that it does with your AirPod case and stuff like that. You're going to get that broad view of where it is on the map somewhere when it last was able to check in. And then you're going to get, once you get near it, and it attaches to your phone via Bluetooth, you're going to get that narrow view and get it to be able to either vibrate or play a sound, that kind of thing. But funny you should mention kids, Ben, because that was the first thought I had, because you had that experience last weekend when you went to the beach. Right, so you were at the beach, and actually there was a parent there who was distraught because their kid had run off in one direction or the other and couldn't find them. And I'm like, that's what happens when you take kids to the beach. My two are feral and they're just opposite directions. I don't know which one to chase. But yeah, I was
slowest.
The slowest. Yeah. But to be fair, I can't chase the bigger one. He's too fast. But yeah. I don't know, this seems a bit weird. I'm like, chip my kids, put a tracker on them so I know where they are. But in those circumstances where I'm thinking, there's a million people here, it's a giant beast, they can run off in any direction. But I also think at Leeds and Reading Live Festival and that kind of stuff, where everyone just gets separated, and I'm going to go over to that tent for a bit and then we'll meet you back here. And it's just, it's horrendous trying to find anyone.
You just don't tell the kids what they are, and then play hide and seek, and you always win.
I always lose my keys. I think that would be good use for me. So when I can't find my car keys.
Well, my dogs went on an adventure recently, and I thought, will that work?
Yeah.
So, they just decided to,
There has been one for dogs for a long time, actually, that sits on their collar. Again, did you ever remember seeing Secret Life of Cats or whatever it was? It was on a TV show where they would see what was happening with cats in the night and how far they would go. But they'd have trackers. But there's been one for dogs for a while now. I remember seeing it at a Microsoft convention. They were using Azure Analytics to track where they were and map it all. So that's been around for quite a while. But
are those tags supposed to use other iPhones and other devices to actually track the location of it, though?
That's what
proximity. Because I read something and I'm thinking, I didn't do any more research into it. I'm thinking, really?
That would be the interesting thing. So this is back to the communal Wi-Fi thing that, BT and Virgin Media
BT
put
tried,
out. Yeah. As long as you're in the street and someone else has got BT, you can use a bit of their Wi-Fi.
So you can also configure them so that you can use that kind of, you can basically tap it with your phone and get, if you've configured it, so you can then get the information of the owner. Mm-hmm. So if you lost your keys, and you can't track them, somebody else finds them, they see that ID, they can then tap it with their phone as if they were making a payment, and then get
find your address in Robbie House.
Brilliant. That's the equivalent of finding some car keys, opening the car, and then using the sat nav and set it to the home address.
Yeah. Is there a specific device requirement for the actual phone or iPad, or does it work with all of the recent models?
No, it's all the new ones. Yeah, that's the nice thing. And again, it's it's anything on the current version of iOS.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I can't wait to get hold of these. I wish I had some this morning. Like I said, we've got some ordered. We'll get them. We'll play with them. We'll find out what some of the other benefits are. And I think it's worth us, doing a video to let people know.
Give them to the kids. Open the door. Go.
Just go. I'll find you. And then,
hide and seek.
An hour later, just going, these things don't work.
Trying to explain that to the police. So why are we looking for your children?
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing to do as well would be to compare it to these things. Because, of course, these have been around forever. And obviously, the air tags are trying to come in and disrupt this a little bit, but we've had tile for a very long time. And these are very similar price points as well.
Really?
So like if the air tags are $99, tiles, again, for a pack of 4 are $84. So it's a very similar price point. So I'd be interested to see what the main difference is with those. So we'll get our hands on those. We'll do some testing.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So the next big thing here is that Microsoft is slowing down everyone's computer. Did you see this?
I didn't know.
Look at this. A recent Windows 10 update has got gamers fuming over crippled
That's why I
frame
haven't
rates
seen it.
and blue screen. Well, I would have thought because of all the time you spend gaming, Martin.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, one of the non-essential updates basically inside the Windows 10 version 2004 has actually been slowing games down. So much so that people like NVIDIA came out to make some recommendations about uninstalling that update. Now, they are saying it's a subset of users, but obviously you know what gamers are like when they get going, is an example. There's just absolute gamer rage going on. I can't get enough. I didn't get enough frags. Cover me!
That was from experience, wasn't it?
It really is. Oh, this is actually just me on a Friday after work. But it's obviously been big enough that Microsoft have responded to the community to come back and say, actually, we do see it, we do recognize it, we have listened. And then they actually put in their known issue rollback program and they put a fix in it. So this is really nice. They just put it into the known issue rollback program, and then automatically your machine does another update and removes the broken bit of code. So you might want to restart your machine to make that happen faster, but it's one of these really nice situations now where you can see the response to the community. So there's a bug, something happens, the community rises up, says, hey, this is a problem, and then the fix gets pushed out automatically. Really, really nice.
I did occasion of that this morning. So basically, Azure Portal plus Azure AD portal and along with the Intune portal were having issues. Headed over to Twitter because there were nothing in the service status. Everybody's hammering Azure support, but they're actually responding to everyone saying, we're looking at it. And then within probably 10 minutes, it was resolved. And then I saw a status notification in the Azure portal saying issue resolved. And I'm thinking, no, that's pretty quick, to be honest. It should be happening anyway, but it were quite quick.
Yeah, but at least it's good to see that they're aware and they're responding not just to the tech channels, but also, the support tickets that are raised, but also social media and seeing that come in. I imagine there's an automation going on somewhere inside Flow, raises the ticket. No, that's cool. So nice. I just thought a nice bit of support actually for the way that Microsoft are handling things that they see are broken, they respond to the community, and then they come back really quickly with the bug updates and with your Azure experience this morning. So I think that makes me think about Microsoft and, of course, something that we achieved ourselves this week. So if we can't blow our own horns, then why not? Because we achieved... I thought you were going to sing, Ben, because it's been in your head the entire time.
I can't sing. I'll start coughing.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants singing on this show today. But yeah, we achieved gold, or I should say gold. There we go.
Excellent.
A Microsoft Gold partner, which is really nice. It's been a little adventure for us for the last couple of years to get, build the business and build what we're doing and work on the interesting projects. And we added up just the other day how many projects we've done over the last couple of years, and it's a ridiculous amount, and some 140,000 users that we've helped at some point. It's absolutely crazy.
And I think it's really nice to get gold without trying. And I don't mean without trying as in, no effort whatsoever. But
some of us are trying, Martin. I mean,
right. Okay.
Some of us are.
Ben's working all the time.
No, Ben's very trying. No, but not forcing yourself to do exams, not chasing it. It just naturally happened. And then I think that's great. Really nice.
It's really good. It's nice. You're quite right. It isn't something that we've chased. Like we've done at other organisations where we've had to, continually just keep chasing that and chasing it. Here, it's just been a natural evolution of what we're doing out of actually genuinely having fun with the projects that we're doing. So that's really nice. And then what I've noticed is, what was I going to say? That this guy here, I mean, this is really important because I don't know if you know, but this guy here in the middle, he really looks like that guy off EastEnders.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that, but anyway.
Might not know, he's into his salts.
No?
Yeah, but not EastEnders. Sorry, I draw a line there. Corey, Emmerdale, fine.
We got a message from Mitesh there that we work with. So thanks very much. Yeah, it's really nice. And we're really proud of, I mean, I'm personally really proud of the team and everything that they've done over the last couple of years. So it's been fantastic to get that accreditation. But really, genuinely, really pleased.
You say a couple of years, it's barely, well, just over a year, really.
I know. And it's been super fast, and I think it feels longer. I don't know why, just because I don't know. I genuinely have a blast working with you guys, which is really nice, and I think it just feels like we've been doing this for such a long time.
Feels natural.
I hate every minute. What a kidding.
It's like, Ben, you're breaking up.
Yeah. Still been trying this.
All right, let's move on from that. So, Martin, I missed your fantastic news article. I didn't grab a snip of this, but you've got Man Buys Google. A man in Argentina bought the Google Argentina domain name for how much?
Was it is that equivalent of £2? £2 and 9 pence. £2 and 9 pence or something like that. And it was, google.com.ar, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he was just working late or whatever, and he saw that people were putting stuff on Twitter and whatever else, and that Google was down. He tried it wasn't there. Got him thinking, and then for some reason thought, I'll check up the kind of domain name, and he managed to snag it for £2. Legitimately, he got it within a few hours. Though Google had obviously found out and managed to get it back, and it wasn't due to expire for another couple of months. So they obviously still had the legal right to it, so hence they got it back so quickly. Otherwise, it would have made a mint. I wonder if their renewal was £2. Because I suspect that the renewal would have been a lot higher than that.
Yeah, but can you imagine the damage that's caused for advertising revenue for Google in Argentina for the sake of a £2 domain renewal?
For a few hours.
That's horrendous, yeah. But no, it's funny, and it just shows, isn't it? It can happen to anyone. You know, we often see pokes at businesses when they let a domain expire. It happened to Microsoft at some point, when an SSL certificate expired, and it can happen to Google as well. It's one of those things. It can happen to anyone if you're not looking for these things, if you're not monitoring them.
I think the chap kind of bought it, and then quickly, as soon as he had it, he was like really worried because he's like, I don't know what to do.
Now what?
Now what? Waiting for a chap at the door.
Yeah. Where shall I point it? Quick, point it to DuckDuckGo. That'll bother them. Ask Jeeves.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. So Jabra this week announced 2 new devices for home working and small huddle spaces and meeting rooms.
Right.
So this is all around their Teams meeting devices, which is really nice. So first up, we've got the Jabra Panacas 20. So this is, as you can quite clearly see, it's one of these monitor mount or laptop mount home working Teams cameras. Or UC solutions, I should say. Just a fantastic little device. And we've seen similar devices come out recently from Poly. You know, we know most people tend to work with the Logitechs. I've got a Logitech sat on top of here. But yeah, they're coming out now. This is actually their 4K camera. So they're really going at that kind of home working, you know, being a here to stay, and something that I think we were going to chat about, but we'll probably leave that for another time. But yeah, so they're bringing out that, which is a nice affordable price point, I would say. It's still very much premium webcam price, so it's in at $299. Now that's the early announcement price. I still think by the time it goes through distribution, I think you're going to get that a bit cheaper. But it's
could buy a car for that.
Again, what car? Come on.
It'd be a wreck at £300, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Parts.
Oh, Martin's frozen. I'll assume he said something witty.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. But yeah, I think he's got a point. So it is still a premium price point, and there's a lot of people who might not be interested in a webcam at that price point. But I think it is a 4K camera. I think that does make a big difference. And so if you look at some of the YouTubers, some of the game streamers, and then some execs who only work at home, then that could be a real device for them. It's certainly not, I think, like a bulk business device. It's not like a business going to go, well, now I've got 50 people working from home, so let's go and spend, I don't know, however many £1,000s that is on cameras. I can't.
Yeah, because I'm running off my webcam on my laptop. Do I look all right?
You do, yeah. Are you using the built-in one?
Yeah, the built-in one. Yeah, it seems all right, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there is a space for these, but if you want that step up to 4K, and I can tell that's true because you've got things like the Logitech Brio, which have been sold out for such a long time. When home working really kicked in, you couldn't get hold of these things, and they are a premium price, but because again they're a 4K camera. Right, yeah. So they're a 4K, fantastic, streaming solution, really, really good, nice big lens on them, but still at that premium point. But even those now have come down, and they're available, and they're about $150. So it seems like a challenge to bring something out like this at sort of $300.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it sells, or whether they reduce the price after a few months.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing we've seen come out recently that we talked about in one of our previous episodes was the Poly P5. Yeah, and again, you can see there's a very big difference here in kind of the size of the unit, and this had, again, this was only 1080p, but it was clever enough that at the back, in that little section at the back there that you can see pops off, it had the little space for the USB dongle to go in, so your wireless USB dongle could go in there, and it would just have one cable to your computer, because again, a lot of the modern laptops only come with like a small, tiny number of USB sockets. So, and even that, I think, let me just double check, that was coming in at around $150 again. Not 4K, I'll give you that, not 4K, but that's still half the price of the Panacas 20.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to get my hands on a Panacas and have a look, because some of their other Panacas solutions are amazing. And the quality is amazing, and some of the AI, facial tracking and zooming in is lovely. So if it's not just home working, if you could use it in a huddle space, I could definitely see it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
That. The other thing that they've brought out is this, which is the Panacas 50. And I think we're getting very familiar to see these now, this kind of almost like sound bar style, conferencing solutions. So multiple microphones, multiple speakers across the whole bar, and then a nice active 4K camera in the center, which does those really cool things of zooming in on who's speaking in the room if you wanted to, or cutting out to that wider view. So again, they're bringing out a new version of those. That's the Panacas 50.
So does that actually connect to some kind of small screen control panel type thing? How does that work then if you were to stick that in a space?
Yeah, so at the moment, I haven't seen the screen controller that goes with it. But yeah, you've got to see exactly the same thing, because we've seen solutions from the other providers that do the same thing. And I like these. I'm a big fan of these speaker bar style pieces of kit, because it does mean like your team's meeting room starts to get really simple. It's, a screen, or probably the screen that you've already got, and then the speaker bar solution underneath. And that's it. It's kind of nice and out of the way. No faffy cables. You can broadcast to them wirelessly.
Yeah.
You can share your content wirelessly. They can join in the Teams call. So really, really straightforward. I think that is deliberately going to go up against this, which we've seen before. In fact, we have one of these. So
yes, we do. Yeah,
and that's X30. And I think that's what you're saying. That has the touchscreen controller as well, or we have the touchscreen controller with it. You don't have to have the touchscreen controller, though. You can use that wirelessly. And just broadcast to it. I can't get that to go off. There we go. So you can, in the same way, just broadcast straight to that. So I imagine that's where we're going with the Jabra Panacas 50. But I'd love to see these and get hold of a version so that we can see how they work, and then let people know. It's what we're all about is seeing that stuff and seeing how it's going.
Just an update from Martin. He's lost his internet, so he might not be joining us for the rest of the.
Let's see how he gets on. What we can do is we can bring in Kaylee. No, she's immediately going to panic. It's no. All right, well, cool. It's okay, because actually I think Martin would have had the most to say about our next segment, but actually it's May the 1st coming up very soon, which means we are into the final countdown for this.
Wow, I can't believe this. It's finally going.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I remember it getting announced, and here's an announcement back in 2019. And you're like, oh, we've got ages, absolutely ages before this happens. But yes, Skype for Business Online is finally going end of life. Okay, I can see
Customers are still using it in anger as well.
Well, they really are. That's the funny thing. So Skype for Business Online is still really, really popular. People, especially some of the larger organizations, had kind of just made that leap into Skype for Business Online, and then it kind of got announced as end of life. And they're like, we've just done a huge project to get us here. And I remember doing a bit of consultancy just the beginning of last year, where they'd only just moved across, and we were like, well, look, the end of life is happening for this product that you've just landed on. Let's start the planning process for moving you to Teams. And they were just like, we don't have the energy right now. And I'm like, okay, but gonna need to start that at some stage, and it's here. And I guarantee you, like you say, there's so many people who've kind of left it to the last minute. And now there's just this rush to get people into into Teams. Fortunately, it's not such a huge challenge. If you're already kind of exclusively Skype for Business Online or well integrated into Skype for Business Online, then actually there's some really good steps to get you up to Teams. So I think it's really good. But yeah, it's finally here, July 31st.
Crazy.
And I suppose the interesting thing is, right, Skype is still there. It actually is the voice system behind Teams. We know this. It's what's actually happening in the background. But the front end experience and all the integration and all the development work is going into Teams, right? So every time we look at Teams, it's changed. There's a new feature, there's a new button, there's the webinar feature that's coming out. There's different ways to blur your background. It's just the entire focus of all their development efforts. And so it's just going to start leaving Skype Online behind. And that's why they had to put that line in the sand and just say, look, it's more about the experience than it is about the technology. The technology is still what powers Teams. But we've got to say no at some stage, and this is the point where you need to move to Teams.
Well, if you think about it now, in the Skype client, you pretty much could make calls and chat over IM. It just doesn't compare. So
yeah, no, absolutely,
it's crazy. Yeah.
But again, when we think back to those Panacas that we were just talking about a second ago, there's a lot of people who've got an investment in Skype for Business handsets and Skype meeting room systems. You remember you and I were in the office that we had the 80-inch Skype room system that is not upgradable to Teams. It doesn't move to Teams. It's a Skype room system. And so now it's kind of locked. And so you've then got to think, right, how do I get it to talk to Teams? I need some kind of third-party interop service now, like a Blue Jeans or something like that, to get it to connect to Teams. So there's still, I can understand why people have had that headache of just gone, oh, I can't even think about it. We've only just got to Skype Online and all these Skype devices. Now you're telling me I've got to change again. But I think in the time since it was announced in 2019 to now, that conversation's got a lot easier, and a lot more of those projects have happened. So it's definitely doable. And I'd urge anyone who's kind of still sitting there with Skype Online to really, go and find yourself one of the good Teams partners and get moving. It's very doable. Maybe not in 6 weeks, but it's very doable.
Yeah, depending how big you are.
Yeah. Cool. I can see Martin tried to join, but he didn't make it. Kaylee says she's absolutely not coming by the looks of it. Don't you dare, she says. Look at this. Huh. No problem. Well, look, so the next thing that I saw in the news this week was actually quite a sad thing. So Merseyrail have been hit by a ransomware attack. And what was interesting about this, and don't get me wrong, we've seen so many ransomware attacks that have been in the news lately, but this one was particularly interesting just because of the sheer audacity, I suppose, of the attackers. So what they did once they'd got into the system and got into essentially the MD's mailbox was send out an email from his mailbox, sending it out to the press, out to the public, out to suppliers and customers to say, this network's been compromised. We have hacked in. We've got access to all your data, all your information, sent it to all employees as well. To add to the pressure of them having to do something, I think is the general consensus. Because sometimes they'll get in and they'll hack and they'll tell the people inside the organization, hey, we're in. We've got access to all your stuff. You need to pay us. But it's kept quiet inside that organization. And we all know, we've heard about these stories where we find out 3 months later that British Airways got hacked. What? They've taken this right the other way around, and they've just gone, no, we're in. And as we tell you, Merseyrail, we're going to tell everybody else, you've been hacked. And if you want to make sure that you get to keep your data and we don't delete it or we don't leak it all, you will pay us money. But they've told everyone else that at the same time. And it's just kind of, I think, forcing their hand,
Yeah.
And holding them to ransom that way. And I think it's an interesting strategy. It's one that I don't think I've seen before. Maybe they've threatened to go public, but in this case, they've just gone, no, everybody knows, now you need to pay us. And if you don't pay us, we're going to keep all this or sell all this or do whatever they want to do with it. And I just found that really interesting. And I think the shame is that Merseyrail are already struggling financially after COVID and everything else that's been happening over the last 12 months. They're not in a position to have tons of money.
No.
And so ultimately what this means is, for employees of Merseyrail, either your data is, breached and that's now with somebody else. That's risk number one. Risk number two is that Merseyrail are going to have to pay this. And where's that money going to come from? It's going to have to come from job cuts or resource cuts or some other way of finding that money in the business to pay for the ransom. And I think that's the overall thing that's what's happening with these. It's everyone, when you see these on LinkedIn, everyone has their opinion. Well, if they'd have listened to me, or I could have done it better. I'd have set it up properly. Or you shouldn't have made that mistake. Always reminds me of, do you remember in Friends with Joey and Ross? And Joey's like, do you want my advice? And Ross is like, yeah, anything. Tell me. He's going, you're not going to like it. No, please, tell me anything. And Joey's just like, you got married too soon. Ross is like, that's not advice. Well, I told you wouldn't like it. But it always seems like that when you look at these cyber attacks. It's like, someone pops in and goes, well, if you'd have done this, you wouldn't have been attacked, would you? That's not advice. That's not support. But I think, someone's always ready to say, how they could have done it better. But I think we're going to look at now with all these cyber attacks that are happening is actually the human element that's happening to it. This is going to be a load of people's jobs, I think, if they have to pay for that ransom.
Yeah, it's sad in a way.
It's not good. It is not good. All right. Martin is still not coming back. He's just abandoned us. It's all right.
He's stuck with me.
That's okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk about this week that we actually had someone write in and ask us about is VPN services. So did you see the thing that I flagged up in the show notes?
No.
Let me just grab this for you. This one. Here we go. Don't use VPN services. So actually, Nigel sent this in to us and he said, look, I'm interested because I'm a skeptic about this. But I saw this on GitHub, so there's a whole article on GitHub that we'll share the notes to and the link to. But essentially, the article says, don't use VPN services. So we've all seen like NordVPN and Hide My Ass, I think is one of the other ones. But there's quite a few of these VPN services out there that promise absolute anonymity. And so you can browse whatever it is you want to browse. Mostly it's, people downloading games or downloading movies or whatever it's with torrents, that kind of thing. Or even just streaming, things to their home media servers now. Every time you see that, it says you should use a VPN. Absolutely use a VPN. Oh, by the way, here's the one that we recommend, and we get an affiliate revenue every time you sign up. That's strange. And you hear it on podcasts all the time. I listen to quite a few tech podcasts and even movie podcasts, and they are all constantly just piling on and saying, hey, go and get NordVPN or one of these, whoever's got the best advertising budget, basically. And the point that this guy makes is, why do you want to use a VPN? You want to use a VPN because what you're doing needs some privacy, right? So you're a little bit concerned that if the police were to inspect what you were doing, for example, you'd be committing some kind of crime, downloading movies and that kind of stuff. So why do you want a VPN? Because you want to hide yourself. Okay, cool. And you believe these strangers that you found on the internet are going to hide your illicit activity. That's what you believe, and that's why you're paying for the VPN service. And then the VPN service is saying, well, you can pay us in Bitcoins because that way, we can't tie who you are, or you can, you can guaranteed, there are no logs kept here and all this kind of stuff. And the point of that article and the point that Nigel's skepticism raises is that, of course they do. There's bound to be logs. There's bound to be tracking, because given the choice of them or you, when they get busted because I don't know, the FBI decide to jump in on one of these places, maybe it'd be the CIA, I don't know. A law enforcement agency decides to jump in on one of these places and take them down. And at that point, they've got a choice, right? Do they comply and say, yes, we've been supporting illicit activity, across the internet, and here's what we know, here are our customer lists, here are our logs, here's who pays us money? Or do they go, no, we refuse to hand over that information and then take the maximum penalties that are afforded to them? They're absolutely going to sell you out. There's no question.
Yeah.
They will do whatever it takes to minimize their the impact on them. And I think I've seen people like Microsoft, multi-billion-dollar company, we know, trillion-dollar, say no to the US government when the US government has said, we want you to hand over this customer's emails or files. And they've said, absolutely not. We have a contract with that customer, it's encrypted, all that good stuff. And they've pushed back and fought the US government saying, no, we refuse. I don't see your VPN provider doing this.
No.
I don't see NordVPN or those kind of guys fighting the government or fighting the legal system. They're just going to go, sure, here, have what we have. Now, even if they don't keep logs, they still have billing information, right? So you can still pull out customers. It's likely that this isn't kind of a one-shot thing. It's likely that the FBI, whoever it is, swoop in and say, right, give me your logs as of today. What they're going to do is swoop in and go, we're taking over. And then just attach loggers at that stage. And then they'll just start tracking. And they'll sit there for 3 months or 6 months and capture all the information that they want. And then go and find the people that they're interested in. So I think I'm not sure, and I think that's the point that Nigel was making. I don't think that they actually afford any extra protection.
No.
Yes, up until the point that they get breached, but by one of the legal agencies. But at that stage, you're done anyway. The fact is, you're doing something illicit. You're hoping to trust a provider who knows you want to do illicit things to protect you. But the first opportunity, they're going to go, well, we don't do anything illicit, Mr. Policeman. Here, in fact, here's all of our information. We want to be as helpful as possible because we didn't know this was happening.
Yeah, just to highlight that, it's not to be confused with your standard corporate VPNs. Obviously, they're for encrypting your data. Yeah, these are obviously to hide your activity or whatever. But yeah, I think just to end on that, I think they use them to get around Netflix geolocation and BBC iPlayer is probably the only real benefit of them in reality. If you want to hide your actual what you're actually doing on the internet, probably think again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, if you were just trying to get Netflix in a different geography, I mean, there's probably easier ways to do that anyway. But yes, that's the standard use for a VPN, which might be frowned upon by Netflix, but isn't necessarily illegal, I don't think. I think it's frowned upon is probably the best term. If you are, lordy, you don't want Beeb coming after you for watching the BBC if you're not a BBC license carrier. But yeah, I think if you're just trying to watch a service that you pay for, like Netflix or Prime, in a different territory, perfectly good use of VPN. But if you're trying to hide illicit activity, you can't trust them. You can't trust them to do that. Cool. Okay, we had some comments in actually. So Richard, this is a really good point, Richard. I genuinely also hope that Merseyrail have cyber insurance or some kind of cyber insurance, and that it covers, because not just the cost of repairing what they've done, but also the cost of any consultancy, to keep the guys out in the future. But I think also the data is encrypted at this stage, and so does the cyber insurance actually pay for the decryption and for the ransom? I'm not sure if it does, and I'm not sure if you can have a cyber insurance policy that covers that. I think, as far as I know, it just covers the repair work and the consultants that you need to do the repair. I'm not sure it covers the massive ransoms. Bruce, let me just have a read. Bruce says at the end of your conversation. Cool. All right, Bruce. Yeah, good stuff. So Bruce here, he's in the chat and he's in this conversation. You can find him. Bruce is saying that actually they have some tech team exposure of actually doing the Skype for Business Online through to Teams migration and a SIP to Teams capability as well. So absolutely, there are partners out there. If you are still using Skype for Business Online and you've got the deadline of July coming up, get in touch with Bruce. It looks like a great opportunity for a team that knows this stuff well. Martin.
Hey, welcome back.
Martin Facepalm Kennedy.
Well,
Very good.
what can I say? Virgin
You're
Media.
welcome. I mean, other service providers are available.
Yeah, and maybe I should choose one. And
Well, it's good to have you back.
tether. And apologies, sorry.
No, it's good to have you back. You missed, we talked about Skype for Business End of Life, which I think would have been really interesting, but we still haven't got to Martin's marvelous minutes yet, so we'll come to you. Yes, Richard, this is interesting. There is a law around ISPs having to log, which is why people then look for VPN services. You're quite right. I'd be interested to know how many ISPs actually have this in place, because I think there's been a lot of controversy around the capability to do such broad logging and the retention for doing that. And I've certainly worked with ISPs who don't have the capacity to do that. And so they've said,
I think we all have.
yeah, you know, we can't do that. We don't have the capability to do that, and therefore we refuse to do that. Now, on a residential level, it might be more prevalent. So I don't know, you know, at the residential ISPs, whether that's absolutely in place. And I'm not sure, I'm still not convinced that it is myself. But certainly on the, you know, the business and enterprise side of internet work connections, I've seen that doesn't exist. And he also made a really good point that, thanks for this, Richard, because I didn't know, you can get covered to pay the ransomware as well on your cyber insurance, but it's damn expensive. That's great, man. Thanks for joining in. I really like that. It's always good to learn stuff too. Where are we up to? So at this stage, I would like to come into Ben's Tech Corner. I know, I genuinely wish. So, I mean, I keep telling Kaylee every week, Kaylee. She's going to kill me. We're going to get some jingles because Ben's Tech Corner, I really like this. You've got some great stuff for us this week.
We should just have the team's bong.
Oh, as if we don't hear that enough. So tell me, Ben, first of all, we had some interesting stuff come up this week with Microsoft 365 Business Premium and Windows 10 activation, because we've seen a bit of this go wrong, haven't we? You go.
Yeah, so basically, if you've got a Windows 10 subscription, it's not necessarily just business, but any enterprise, E3 or E5. There is a requirement for a base license on the actual, an OEM license on the actual guest. When you, for example, if you buy a lot of home devices, install Pro on there, so you can actually do the Office 365 upgrade with the subscription-based license, it will fail because you effectively still need a Pro base license. So you probably find now that most devices you buy with home have effectively got the key or the license hard-coded into the BIOS. So that can cause some issues. So that's just one thing to make sure you're covering when you buy new laptops for business, is you buy it with Pro to basically avoid having the issues and having to buy Pro to upgrade your home-based devices.
Yeah, and that's basically come out of, we've seen some SMB customers who've gone and looked at the price of new laptops that they're buying for themselves and gone, well, if I buy this one, it's £100 cheaper. Mm-hmm. And what they've not looked for is that the difference is that actually that £100 is because it's the same laptop, but this one has Windows 10 Home and this one has Windows 10 Pro. And then the 365 Business Premium license, I mean, that because it's got Home on it, you can't use the Business Premium activation. So it's then got to be formatted with a copy of Pro, and then you try and activate it. And Business Premium just says, no. You needed to have Pro underneath before I can give you this upgrade to Business. Okay. And that's starting to bite now in a couple of SMB customers that I think we've seen. And it's just one of those things. Why is, this laptop £100 cheaper? Because it's got Windows 10 Home. And Pro is a much better offering in the first place. And then it's enhanced by the Business Premium license to get it to Windows 10 Business. Okay, you've also said that you have seen the brand new Windows Server 2022 preview.
Well, I've not seen it. I've seen the announcement.
Well, that's what I meant. The announcement.
It's due out end of this year, and it's pretty much does more of what it currently does now. There's a lot more enhancements when it comes to, for example, more Azure-based stuff. The admin Windows, the Windows Admin Center, so a lot more integration with Azure. So they're obviously trying to make it easy for you, obviously, to get there and whatnot. Security improvements, so stuff like TLS 1.3s, and it comes with it. And an interesting thing as well, which, so Azure Files, the whole SMB over the internet type thing, it's encrypted. So what will be supported with 2022 is the ability to do effectively SMB over HTTP. So in effectively a separate protocol. So you'll get through those firewalls. So for example, SMB standard ports 445 is never enabled. So when you're doing stuff like that, it's always tricky. So quite nice technical solution to that. So so it'd be interesting to see how that develops. But I think that's going to be within Azure as well, if it's not there already. And actually, one thing which it did lead me on when I was looking at that, there's not actually an exam available for Windows Server anymore. The good old 770, 410 or whatever it used to be for 2012. Yeah, you can't actually do an exam for a server OS anymore. It's all cloud-based exams. So I thought, I didn't realize that, because you just prove you just ignore them, because you just head towards what's shiny new, I guess. But yeah.
No, it's interesting. I would have thought there was still like a server competency or something like that. But
no, apparently not. There. So yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, we've played with Azure Files, SMB essentially over HTTPS, and it's fantastic. The performance speeds are fantastic. It was always SMB over network was always a little bit crunchy.
Yeah, so it's not over HTTPS yet. It still uses that legacy protocol.
Not okay. So I was going to say not on the one that we did. I think with Azure File Services.
Yeah, so you can browse to it, but in terms of the actual protocol in the back end, it's still traditional. If you were just going to, if you're just going to open Explorer and browse to it, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends how you map it, but basically, yeah.
We might have to have a fight, because I'm pretty sure I mapped it as a HTTPS endpoint, but that's cool. We can.
Yeah.
You've got. I'm interested now.
That's using WebDAV, but we won't go down that route.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is
basically using rather than using TCP as its protocol for transit, it's effectively using something called QIC, which is effectively SMB over HTTPS or HTTP. So it's supposed to be super secure, fast, and all that.
Is it supposed to be quick?
Yeah, potentially. Sorry. But yeah, it's one of those things with Windows Server. I think it comes with Super Million. It supports a million cores, load of RAM. They just get bigger and bigger, obviously, as kit grows as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've seen the VM sizes in Azure have just continued to keep scaling as well into huge amounts of RAM and CPUs now. So yeah, that's fantastic. Really good. Okay. Yeah. What else have we got? Oh yeah, so interesting. You saw a change come through in Office 365 as well.
Yeah, so I think we touched on this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? The effect of the external flag within when you receive an external email, more often than not, you effectively have to create a transport rule which does it itself. And now Microsoft have bought an inbuilt control. You switch it on within your tenant. It's not there by default yet. Whether they just turn it on for everyone at some point, they probably will. But yeah, you can enable it, and yeah, you effectively get this flag here, which basically tells you they're external.
Yeah. I noticed it because you enabled it for us this week as well. I noticed it, I think, for the first time on iOS this morning. So even on the iOS client, it has the same little tag just on the left-hand side.
And
which is really nice.
There's also some customer. You can also customize it as well. So if you've got close partners, or for example, you guys there's a merger going on, you can actually add domains. So you're treating domains effectively as internal as well. So there's a bit of control. There's not a lot, but there's a bit. So
it's really nice. And again, I think just in terms of, security and awareness, and again, we're always thinking about phishing, that kind of thing. I saw a really nice email this week where someone who normally emails me from their work address emailed me from their personal address instead, and it actually got blocked by 365 and put into quarantine. And the rule basically said, normally this person, you do know this person, but normally they email you from this address, and today they seem to be emailing you from this address, and that looks like a phishing attack to me. And you're like, that's cool. It got it wrong, but I love that the protection mechanism is there and looking out for us. So that's really good.
Definitely.
Okay, in that case, I think we are just in time for Martin's Marvelous Minutes. Hey, Martin.
Definitely need a jingle for this one.
Yeah, and you may have already covered some of this. I just heard some stuff as I was trying to get back in earlier. But just a couple of things around Microsoft Teams reaching 145 million active daily users this week.
It sure has,
which is double almost double what it had this time last year.
Wow.
That's incredible. So 145 million users. It's
It's got zooming in on his screen.
unbelievable.
There you go.
I had to, yeah, I'm sure I had a little article here from The Verge, which
Yeah.
confirms exactly that from 2 days ago.
Which is brilliant. And it got me thinking, and I think this is a bit you've already touched on, but it got me thinking about Skype for Business Online and the end of life and how many users were still active on there. Couldn't find anything to tell me how many users were still active, but I am aware that there is still businesses out there using it, some that I've spoken to recently. But time flies, and it is 3 months essentially to the day or tomorrow, and that's it. And yeah, so yeah, I think if you've not done anything, it's time to do something.
It definitely is, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see whether they do change their minds and say, "Oh, you can have a couple more months."
No, they won't.
Do you reckon?
No. I think there's so much success in Teams, and it's so obvious the move now. And you've had 2 years' notice, so if you've not prepped for it, and you're not ready, it's kind of on you, really. You know, you've had the time. They put out something in February to say you've got 6 months. You've still got time to move. You've still got time to do the planning. Depending on the size of your organisation, it could be really easy. It could just be a switch and that's it, done. But some will have those cultural differences, and if they've not embraced Teams at all, given those numbers, I'd imagine most companies now have. So it should be a lot easier. So I'd imagine you've got 3 months. You can still do it.
Yeah, we did cover some of the the challenges around hardware and team specific phones and meeting room appliances that need consideration. We covered that a bit while you were away.
Quite a lot of that will be with on-premise stuff as well. So that's not affected. So it's purely the online, which should have less bother with. But yeah, the other one was I got my voucher through I'd done the Cloud Skills Challenge during Ignite, so I got my free voucher, and I thought I'm going to spend my free voucher because I'm that kind of guy. So I was like, I went and had a look at the exams that were available. A few of the 365 ones I'd already done, and there was a couple of other. It was a more limited choice this time. But what I did spot was that the new security exams, which were in beta until recently, so there's actually 4 new exams, but the 3 main ones there, and they're all jobs role specific. So the first one's more around Defender and Sentinel and actually management of threat management and response. The other one was the identity management and design and implementation around identity solutions, and the last one's more around your compliance, DLP, and information protection. So what I was thinking is, how are these any different from what you were getting with the 500, etc.? But what it is they are more specific, whereas the MS 500 exam, for example, would be 15 to 20% of that would be information protection. The SC 400 is 100% information protection, and that's the focus. It doesn't deviate outside that, so it's more role specific. So I've booked the 400. I'll probably push it back, but I've booked it. So I've booked that. So it'll be quite interesting to see how it differs when it being more role specific.
Yeah,
I might report back on that one, depending on how
it depends on the success.
how I got on.
But I think that's really good because it shows, we talk about this all the time, is that the security capabilities inside 365 and M365 specifically is just getting stronger all the time. And there's so many like third-party products that you can just turn off, stop paying for, integrate into 365 and Azure AD. And now with those competencies going much deeper on those specialisms, information protection, identity management. And I'm thinking like all the conditional access stuff that you can then add into identity management and risky sign-in policies and all that kind of stuff can now come into there. And you're right, it deserves, because the breadth of security is so wide now, it deserves a focused, bit of training and exam rather than just, 5% of the exam is, can you set Azure AD? Well, yeah, anyone can.
Well,
exactly. Can you do it properly? Okay, and that's a specialist role.
Yeah, it doesn't replace the AZ and the MS 500 ones.
Sure.
They're still
Sure.
they're not coming into life. There's also a 900, so there's an SC 900, which is the fundamental,
Interesting. Okay.
which covers the 2, 3, and 400. So there'll be a percentage of each of those in that. So
well, that's interesting, and I can see that there'll then be, the enhancement to the 365. Sorry, not to the security competency. Then, as a Microsoft partner, will then start to be built on these new role-based.
And these are all associate exams at the moment.
Yes.
I can imagine what will happen is they'll build them up, and then you'll have the expert one.
Yeah, there'll be a
Like
security expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Fantastic.
that was better.
All right. That's it. Well, I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about this week. I think we've had a fantastic show. There's been really interesting. Ben, I don't know about you. It just seemed more interesting in that middle segment where Martin wasn't here. I don't know. No. It's always nice to have you, Martin.
He was worried about his privacy, perhaps.
Yeah.
He was off to go and check on his VPN.
I think you, Ben, you cut me off when I was making a comment about your cars.
Just disable Martin's internet.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, guys,
that was it.
Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. It's bank holiday weekend here in the UK, so I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Or is it just England?
No. It's the whole of the UK.
Okay.
and even if it wasn't,
he works for an English company.
Yeah. It suits him when it wants, doesn't it?
Yeah. I get extra.
Cool. All right. Well, guys, you have a fantastic weekend. Everyone who joined in on chat, thank you very much for getting involved. Thank you for watching today. And I hope you all have an amazing weekend. And we are out.
Cheers, guys.